This is August 10th, 1983. This is Joe Todd, an interview with Mrs. Barbara Royce.
Mrs. Royce, where were you born?
I was born in Iowa, 1880,
When's your birthday? What month?
July the 15th.
What town were you born in?
Near Essex, Iowa.
What was your father's name? What was your father's name?
Joseph Lawrence Young.
What was his last name?
What?
What was his last name?
Young.
Young. Was he from Iowa?
Well, the Youngs came from Wales, Scotland.
Who was your mother?
She was Eunice Caroline Straw.
Where was she from?
Let me see.
They were from Wisconsin.
Pennsylvania.
What kind of work did your father do?
He was a farmer.
How long did you live on the farm?
All my life,
All your life?
till I came to Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. What kind of chores did you do on the farm as a child?
I didn't do many chores. I wasn't well, and I was a girl. I was quite a sickly girl.
Mm-hmm.
Had very poor health when I was a girl. So I didn't do many farm chores, just helped around the house.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick cotton like most of them did. I wasn't able to.
Yeah. Did the doctor come see you? Did the doctor come and see you?
Oh, yes, I was under a woman doctor. Her name, Capitola Reed. I better call her Doc Cap.
Was your father in the Civil War?
First Wisconsin Cavalry.
Did he ever talk about the Civil
Not
War?
very much. He rode a horse, and the horse was shot from under him, and he always left him equipment. He always limped all his life. He never said much about it.
Mm-hmm. Did he say what battle that was in?
No, I don't remember. He may have, but I've forgotten. If I knew, my memory's not what it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Did you know your grandparents? Did you know your grandparents?
Yes,
What were their names?
Straw,
Straw?
Malachi Straw. My mother was Pennsylvania Dutch, my grandfather was Scotch Irish.
When was your grandfather born?
In Ireland, I think.
Ireland?
From Wales, Ireland.
Did he talk about the old country?
Yeah, not much.
Mm-hmm. Was he in the Civil War? Your grandfather?
Well, he must have been. I don't know. My father, first Wisconsin Cavalry, my father, but I don't know. Don't remember.
Where'd you start to school?
I started school, lived in Greenwood, Nebraska.
How come your parents moved to Nebraska?
Wait, beg pardon?
How come your parents moved to Nebraska?
Well, I don't know. They filed on claim there. They liked it better than Iowa, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
on the Missouri River, Brownville. It's supposed to be the oldest town in Nebraska.
What was the name of the school?
Brownville, Nebraska.
Brownville, Nebraska. Do you remember your teacher's name?
I remember one, but I can't think of it.
What was your favorite subject? What was your favorite subject in school?
Oh, I always liked English.
Can you tell me what kind of games you used to play?
At school,
In
we
school?
played Andy Over. You ever play Andy Over?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's this game? They play. They all line up and then the jerk,
Is that Crack the Whip?
crack the whip. I was always on the tail end and I got knocked down. I'd forgotten it. Yes, once they play the same games now.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Did you go all the way through high school?
No, I was very sick as a girl. I never finished 8th grade. I couldn't walk 3 blocks to go to school.
How come you were sick? Can you tell me?
I was very badly anemic.
What did Dr. Cap do for it? What did Doc Cap do for
Oh,
anemia?
I don't know. She gave me treatments, mostly medicine.
What were they? Do you remember?
No.
What kind of crops did your father raise in the farm?
Corn, wheat, alfalfa.
Where'd you meet your husband?
I met him. He was a village postmaster.
What was his name?
Lloyd Royce. I was married the first day of July in 18. I was born 1880, 1900, I guess it was, and crossed the river in a rowboat.
The Missouri River?
Yeah. Started to Oklahoma.
How come you were coming to Oklahoma?
Well, my husband had filed on a claim 2 miles west of town.
After you crossed in a rowboat, how'd you travel?
Right?
After you crossed the river in a rowboat, how did you travel?
A train to Weatherford. Weatherford was the end of the line, and my brother-in-law met us there.
Can you describe the train trip?
Well, I don't know. It's like any other train, I guess.
How many belongings did you bring with you? How many belongings did you bring with you?
How many belongings?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I had a big box about that big and about that long, full of things that my relatives had given me. And we lived in a 1-room house.
What was the house made of?
That
What was the house made of?
board, straight up and down board.
Okay. Frame house? Was that on your husband's claim?
Yeah.
Where was the claim?
2 miles west of town,
West of Weatherford?
Elk City.
Oh, Elk City.
That's straight out on 7.
I never lived in Weatherford.
How'd you travel from Weatherford to Elk City?
My husband's brother met us. They'd come. We were the last ones to come, and my husband's brother met us at Weatherford. Weatherford was the end of the line.
Did you travel by wagon?
Yeah, covered wagon.
Covered wagon. How long did it take to travel from Weatherford to Elk City?
Well, I think we stayed one night on the road.
Had to cross any rivers?
After crossing the river.
How large was the claim? 160 acres?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your husband was a farmer?
Yeah. We were the last of the Royces to come here.
The rest of the family was already here?
What?
The rest of the Royces were already here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How long did you live in the one-room house?
Oh, 2 or 3 years. Then we built on.
What kind of chores did you do in the house?
What?
What kind of chores did you do as a new bride?
What kind of
What kind of chores?
chores?
Yeah.
I didn't do any chores. My husband did the chores. I helped take care of the chickens. We raised guineas and chickens. Golden laced wives, ducks, and guineas. Did you ever see a guinea?
Yes, ma'am.
They're good eating.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet potatoes and guineas sure good to eat.
What kind of crops did your husband raise? What kind of crops did your husband raise?
Well, we raised cotton, corn, peanuts. There's a lot of peanuts.
How do you raise peanuts?
Right?
How do you raise peanuts?
Just plant them. Then
Plant
grow. Shell them and plant them, and they'll grow. They sure are good. I've shelled many a peanut.
Mm-hmm. How'd you do the laundry?
Bit it by hand.
Rub board? What about soap?
But
Did you make your own soap?
no, I didn't make my. No, I didn't make my soap. I think my mother-in-law made.
Did you make the starch for the clothes when you ironed them?
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the Spanish-American War?
Yeah.
Can you tell me any stories you heard about it?
Oh, I don't remember now much about it.
Yeah. What about, did you do any work for the war effort?
What?
Did you do any work for the war effort?
No.
Remember the day the war ended?
I remember the night it ended. Everybody went to town and celebrated.
Mm-hmm. Did you join in the celebration?
You know,
Do you remember Statehood Day?
yeah.
What was that day like?
Oh, I don't remember. I remember the date, but I just don't remember much about it. I know my husband went to town that night, but I don't remember it.
Did you do any work during World War I?
Used to, no.
How long did you and your husband live on the farm?
all his life.
Mm-hmm.
Until his death in 37.
He died in 1937.
How many kids do you have?
I had 6, but I just have 2 living. A daughter and well, where is my Des Moines, Iowa, and a son in Arizona. The oldest and my youngest, the only ones living.
Yeah. How did the Depression and the Dust Bowl affect you and your husband?
Beg your pardon.
Can you tell me about the Dust Bowl?
Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
I knew the wind blew the dirt, I tell you.
Can you describe what a dust storm looked like?
Oh, I don't know. Just the wind and sand blowing's all I know.
Were you all?
We really didn't live in the Dust Bowl. It wasn't quite so bad. Here's for some places.
That was pretty bad. I was in there.
Were you here then?
Yeah, I was there. Most of it.
What were the dust storms like here?
I had my home downtown. About a block from the post office where the flag was. And some days you couldn't, on a bright sunny day, you couldn't see the, it would only be time that you could see the flag. That much dust.
That much dust.
That much dust.
Now, just a block away?
Just a block away.
What is your favorite childhood memory? What is your favorite childhood memory?
Well, I don't know. We lived 2 miles south of school, and I remember two of my schoolmates. 3 of us at school, the same age, with 6 years old. We had a big blizzard. Levina Tinkham and Mary Margaret White, and Barbara Royce. So they called me Ray when I was a girl. I never, my aunt said I was too little to have such a long name. My name is Barbara Elizabeth, and so they called me Ray for short. Until I got into the Royce family, I was Ray, just Ray Young.
What were the winters like down here?
Well, I don't know. We never had such awful bad winters. Not as bad in Nebraska.
What were the winters like in Nebraska?
Pretty cold.
Have any big floods around here? Have any big floods around here?
Floods.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever did in Clinton.
Not right here in Elk City. Hammond had it.
We did. We had a creek that ran through our farm, and when it would rain hard, it would flood and would wash out the fences, and little pigs would drown. I'd forgotten that. We didn't have any bridge before it first came. We'd have to ride through the water. But later we had a bridge, and the bridge was washed out one time.
Did you stay on the farm after your husband died?
No, I went to live with my daughter
Where was that?
here in Elk City.
Here in Elk City? Can you describe Elk City the first time you came here?
Tent town.
Tent town?
We went to west. What town is west? We went to visit Royce's. Where was it they lived?
What did you say?
I can't hear it.
I said, what did you say?
We went to visit the Royces somewhere. And when they came back, Elk City has sprung up overnight, tent town. I forget where we went.
How come they chose this site to build Elk City?
How come they chose it?
Yeah?
I don't have any idea.
How come they named it Elk City?
They claim they named it after the old elk chief. An Indian, that's what I heard, I don't know.
When did Elk City spring up? What year?
What?
What year did Elk City spring up?
Well, 1980. Well,
1901?
I was thinking 1901. And on my husband, we used to have a fair here. And my husband thought it was something funny. So he brought an old Indian chief up. We was eating dinner, but an Indian chief to eat dinner with it. He'd stick his fingers and pick up things with his fingers. He was always playing tricks.
How big was Elk City when it was Tent City? How many people lived here?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how big it was, Tent City. It didn't bring up fast. I don't remember. I'm 103, and I can't remember too much.
Do you remember who founded the town?
Who founded it?
Yeah. Was this part of the Great Lottery of 1901, this area? Was this area part of the Great Lottery? They had at El Reno in 1901? Do you know if this area was part of the Great Lottery of 1901?
Which part?
Was this area part of the Great Lottery of 1901?
It wouldn't be that.
It wouldn't?
No, this was separate.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was Indian Territory. I don't,
No, it wouldn't be the same as that.
Cheyenne was the county seat.
Is Cheyenne still the county seat?
Was the county seat when we first came here.
When they came here, so then divided into two counties, Bacon and Large Mills County.
And we're in Beckman County.
Bacon County up in Sarah County.
Who did they name Beckham County after?
But
Who did they name Beckham County after?
You know Clinton?
I've heard, but I wouldn't put that in.
I don't know. I may have known him. I've forgotten up there.
Mm-hmm.
How big was Weatherford when you first got there by train?
Very small.
Was it tent city also, or did it have wooden buildings?
But
Did Weatherford have tents, or was it have wooden buildings?
they had buildings. Yeah. They had buildings. Weatherford's older than Elk City.
Can you name some of the prominent people in early day Elk City?
Herring and Young. Herring. Herring was, I remember Olga Herring, a young lady. She was one of the first young ladies. Herring, I think, is one of the first stores here. Herring and Young.
What kind of store was it?
Grocery store.
Grocery store? When did they pave the streets?
I really don't know the year, but my husband and his brothers hauled the sand from our place. We had a sand pit, and his brother and my husband and his brothers hauled the sand. I don't remember what year it was.
That's what that brick paving that's down there, you know, on Broadway. And also Main Street paving coming out. Yeah. Blacktop.
Can you remember your early Christmases? Do you remember your early Christmases as a child?
Early Christmas,
Yeah.
oh, we always had a Christmas tree.
What kind of gift did you receive?
I remember getting a doll one time, and my cousin got a hatchet, and he chopped my doll's head off.
He was a minion, wasn't he?
What about 4th of July?
But,
What about 4th of July?
well, we were married the first day of July, and we were in Kansas City. And they allowed them to shoot allowed them to shoot blanks, but they shot the real thing. set the awnings afire. I know we didn't get any sleep that night.
How big was Kansas City?
How big was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember. Pretty good sized town, though. I may have known, but I've forgotten a lot of things.
Do you remember when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor? Do you remember when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor?
Yeah?
What was your reaction that day?
Kind of disgusted.
What was Elk City like during World War II?
Well, I don't know.
Did many boys go to the war from this area?
Yeah,
Did many boys go to the service from this area?
quite a good many.
They all come back?
Yeah, they all came back. Yeah,
What about in World War I?
My father was in the Civil War. First was Council Cavalry. He was at a shop, had a horse shop from under him. He always limped a little bit.
Yeah.
But he never talked about the war.
He didn't?
Do you have any questions that you want to ask? Do you have any questions that you would like to ask?
No, I don't know what I did that.
You want to tell him about you riding the wild horse?
What?
You want to tell him about you riding the wild horse?
Oh, well, my brother and his wife were out in the country, and a neighbor girl across the street wanted me to go out there. And I said, well, I didn't have a horse. Well, she says there's one in the pasture. Let's catch him and ride him. She had a horse. So we caught the horse, and I rode him. And he was just damn as he could be. Only every time we'd come to the water of the road, he'd jump it. And I stuck on. And when my brother came home, his wife told him I'd been there. He said, what did she ride? He said, well, she rode that horse out of the pasture. He said, God Lord, that horse never been ridden before. But he was so lousy, he didn't have any, get up about it, but all he did was jump the water, and I stuck on.
What kind of a saddle did you ride then?
Side saddle,
Side saddle?
yeah. Did you ever see a side saddle?
Yes, ma'am.
I rode many of them. When we lived in Missouri, everybody rode a horse. And one old lady had a mule. She'd come to church and she'd go home riding that mule and just shouting or something. She was shouting, her hair flying. I can just hear her yet.
You want to tell about that bad blizzard up there in Nebraska?
What?
That blizzard where the...
It was a blizzard?
Yeah.
I was about 6 years old, and I was standing at the window. I'd hit, and my father hitched up the sleigh. There was already snow on the ground, and started to meet the children. And the snowing so hard he couldn't see it. We ran right into them. He brought them all to our house. We kept them all night. And early next morning, the fathers came looking for the children, all but one old Swede. And he told my father he'd been married and had children, she'd been married and had children, and they had children. He told my father that he had too many children, and he wanted to live. That's the first time I heard my father cuss, and he cussed him out. He wanted some of the children to die.
What year was that?
Well, I was 6 years old.
It'd be 1886.
1886. That's the first time I heard my father cuss, and oh, he did give it to him.
Was that in Iowa?
Nebraska.
Nebraska?
Greenwood, Nebraska.
What year did you move to Nebraska?
I think I was 2 years old.
Was your father born in Scotland?
What?
Was your father born in Scotland?
No, no. He was born. His ancestors from Wales, Scotland. I don't remember where he was born. My mother was born in Pennsylvania.
Can you tell me just some incidents that happened on the farm?
What?
Can you tell me some stories that happened on the farm when you were raising your kids?
Oh, I don't know.
What kind of mischief they get into?
Everything. We lived on the creek, and they liked to wade the creek. I used to wish I could ride. I'd be afraid to. If I had a side spread, I'd get sick and fall off. But I gave anything if I could ride a side saddle once more.
In the parade? Yeah.
But I'm too old.
I don't know.
Might get dizzy.
I think she's the oldest person in Bedford County now. Do you have any?
I don't know if there's anyone else city older than I am or not.
I know she's the oldest in Elk City.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Mr. Ballard was older than she, but he died 3 years ago. He was 106.
What's your secret to living so long? What's your secret for living so long?
I'm just taking care of myself, I guess.
When you
I was always sick a lot. I had the chicken pox, I had the measles and diphtheria. I had the measles, and we had friends come, and we all took the diphtheria.
What do you do for diphtheria?
What?
What do you do for diphtheria?
It's what I mean by it.
Yeah, no, you say you had diphtheria?
We had the measles, and the friends come, and they had after they'd been there a while, they took the diphtheria. Well, the doctor told them to separate us, so they put us upstairs with the more of us, and the poison went up. And the only thing the doctor said saved my life, I broke out with abscesses on my head. They had to shave my hair, and I got the name of Jim. They called me Jim for a long time.
How come they called you Jim?
Because they cut my hair off. Looked like a boy.
What do you do for diphtheria? How do you treat it?
I don't know. I don't know. They don't know how much. It's a throat disease, you know. I don't know how they treat it. I don't think they have it anymore. They have too many serums. I never hear about it anymore.
Do you remember the flu epidemic of 1918?
Flu. Yeah. I didn't have it. All my neighbors had it. And I sent food to my neighbors, and after they all got well, I had it. That's all I remember.
Did many people die around here in that epidemic?
We had twins, neighbors that had twin girls, and one of them died. I remember. They both were very bad. The other twin was very bad. She didn't know it for a long time that her sister had died. They kept it from her. It's our neighbors.
When your kids were small, what kind of home remedies would you use on them? What kind of medicines did you use at home?
What kind of what?
Medicines?
Castor oil. That's the main thing.
Use kerosene?
Right.
Did you use kerosene? Did you use kerosene?
used to. I know one time that's after I went to school, sitting on the recitation bench. You never see a recitation bench. Well,
No.
you have to sit on. And one of the girls reached up my hair and took something, she stepped up on them. I said, what in the world? She said, you've got lice. Well, we had an Irish family, it's awfully dirty. And at school, we'd exchange sunbonnets. And she said, you've been wearing Mary's sunbonnet. And I went home just a ball, and Mother combed my hair with coal oil, killed the lice. And my brother, he just knew he had it. So but no one had it but my little baby brother. He'd been sleeping with me, and he was just full of it. As my mother said, it's no disgrace to have things, but it's a disgrace to keep them.
Right.
Never forget, I said she'd comb my hair with a fine comb with coal oil. That's just long hair.
How did your mother fix your hair? You said you had long hair?
Braid it.
Braid it? Did the boys pull your hair in school?
Right.
Did the boys pull your braids in school?
Oh, I guess they did.
Anything else? Well, Mrs. Royce, I think we have a good interview.
Well, I've enjoyed it.
Anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to say?
I don't remember.
How many grandkids do you have?
I don't know. I haven't counted them. I have great grands, a lot of them. I got a bunch of them.
Okay. Thank you.
But I lost my youngest daughter, Clinton's wife, with cancer several years ago.
66 highway, I believe, was built. You see, it was originally just a two-lane road, but
Who owned the toll bridge there?
I don't know. There's some company that owns it, and the toll wasn't very high. It seemed like it's 50 cents, but that might have been
Or
wrong.
was it a wooden bridge or?
Honestly, I don't remember.
That's been pretty good size to
It's a pretty good sized bridge.
Bridgeport's on the Canadian River.
The Canadian River, no, yes. Seemed like it had some wooden spans and then maybe there was a trestle over the main part of the river, I believe.
They used to have those big floods in the river that wash everything out.
Yes, it's a pretty mean river.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty mean river. People are sure glad to use the toll bridge.
Yeah,
because,
right.
I mean, crossing that
Yeah.
river was really hazardous. You might get the quicksand and lose everything.
Yeah, I heard there's a lot of quicksand in that river.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still is too.
Yeah, all the quicksand is still there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.